What's up, guys? This is Eric, aka Form Trends, coming at you from a little spot of the British countryside. I'm in a place called Cadwell Park, which is also known as the British version of the Nürburgring. It's kind of a mini Nürburgring, so they say. And I'm here to drive this Hyundai i30N. Hyundai's come a long way since the Korean company commissioned Giugiaro to design their first car, the Hyundai Pony. Now it's entering a new phase. The N performance version of the i30 and a sub-brand that has been created by Hyundai to compete with the likes of Volkswagen and Ford and Honda. First impressions are generally good. The car is a somewhat muted version of the hot hatch, but as we'll see, definitely has its strong points. Off the bat, I've got to say, this is an incredibly impressive car. Dynamically, this is incredible to drive. It's really, really fun. And it's got a lot of technology. This car, I don't think I've driven a car with this much technology before. Especially not a car that costs less than 30 grand with this much technology. It's got basically everything that you can imagine to help you in the driving process, whether that be driving faster or getting more road feel. You can stiffen the suspension, you can sharpen up the steering. There's so much stuff that you can do to this car electronically. I think one of my favorite bits, which is really strange for me to admit this, is the rev matching. Now you can turn that on or off with the little button right here, but I think it just does it so well. It does it better than I could ever heel and toe. The custom N button, which basically allows me to do all sorts of things here in terms of setting engine, which is now on the highest setting, Sport Plus. I can do the rev matching, turn it off, or do it all the way to the maximum. The exhaust sound I can manipulate. I mean, this is crazy. Everything. I can basically dial up the number of crackles that I want. It's brilliant. And this screen as well is 8 inches, but it's really a pleasure to use. Very simple and intuitive buttons. But then you've also got just the touch screen capability actually works. It's like a smartphone almost, like it mirrors the input that you would. And some systems aren't as good. I mean, you gotta say, some systems, there's so much lag. There's so much stuff that you can do here. And it's all, electronically controlled, and it can all be felt, which is really the best part of it. It's not just some gimmick button that you press and it does nothing. You can actually change the character of this car quite significantly. The brake pedal feel in this car is really superb when you're coming in on a corner that you don't expect. There's a lot in this car that is massively confidence inspiring. So I've talked about sound being really, really an important element in the overall design of a vehicle, and that is basically so true here. It really serves to give the car a little bit of extra character. Right now, I feel like Little Boy Racer with that snap, crackle, pop coming out the back, but I could turn it down if I wanted to and have a really docile family home. I'm not in that mood right now. talk about the design. From the exterior, there really isn't that much of a difference, though it does have this bespoke blue color, which I think suits it quite well. There's also a very nice red, black, really light kind of slate silver. From an exterior perspective, it has little subtleties like the black around the door mirrors, around the TLO, the black inserts around the front and on the rocker panels and on the rear diffuser as well. Little red accents in the front and the rear, which are very nice. You know, little red brake calipers as well. On the interior, pretty much my only disappointment, if you will, we can call it that because it's minor, is in the quality of materials. But again, this car is going to cost less than £30,000. This car comes in at $28,000, which is massively competitive for the segment. So it's just the quality of it. The look of it is fine, right? From a perceived quality perspective, you look at it and you're like, all right, yeah, sure. You know, it's not bad, but it is like a brittle plastic where it's not as soft and supple as it could be. That's all. That's it. Other than that, this shifter dial feels great. The steering wheel, probably the biggest touch point in a car like this. It's got this black bridge. It's got these beautiful little blue, light blue and performance buttons. The seats, no cost option cloth. Nice, very supportive, has a great pattern. Very cool. In a car like this, I would say go for cloth seats. Unless you got a family that's going to spit all over the place, then don't get cloth seats, get leather, because it's easier to clean, especially dark leather. Oh, yes, give me some windy curves. Yes. Woohoo! And uphill as well. Can't get better than that. Uphill windy curves. Yes. There isn't much to differentiate this car over its i30 stablemate, the conventional car. So why get an N? It's clearly for the driver, but also the driver that doesn't mind being a little understated. You don't need to shout from the rooftops when you're driving a performance car. One of my favorite things ever was seeing a BMW M5 with a 518 badge. I thought that was brilliant. If you don't know what it is, you could think it's a 518. The only thing to give it away was the dual exhaust. And I love that. I love flying beneath the radar. I love driving sleeper cars with insane amounts of performance that aren't painted yellow and say, look at me, hey, I'm flashy, I can beat you off the stoplight. You know what? A lot of the times, the cars that do look that way can't. It's like they went into some auto parts store and bought every sticker and bit that they could, and nah, not for me. This car, you can get it with 18-inch wheels. The N Performance version that I'm driving, you can get with 19-inch wheels. From an aesthetic exterior perspective, you've got dual exhaust. You've got a little lip addendum to aid in aerodynamics, which I actually wish was better integrated. Ultimately, I think this car is very well judged. There's a few things that I would say are exceptional, and that is this very simple user interface over here on an 8-inch nav screen, which I think is phenomenal, because it's got, like I said, 3 buttons on either side, a couple of rotary dials. It feels good. You can, you know, it's really tactile, very nice feeling. but then it's also a great conveyor of information right there in the center. And I'm not a big fan of these tacked on, center screens that look like, they belong in your living room, free floating. But this actually works very well. Another thing that I really like is this area right here, because, the HVAC system needs to be something that you can access quite readily and quickly and see what it is. So I can turn the seat heaters on. Everything is actually brilliant. Crackle is actually quite addictive, but I love the lights that come on to tell you when you have to shift. And then, also you've got a little nannying aid that tells you, hey, it's probably not a good idea to downshift in this particular area, into that particular gear at this particular time, which, is nice. It's nice to have that. You don't need it. Some people might. If you're driving 1010 selling this car on the track, maybe you need it. From a positioning perspective, I think this is a great offering to spur off the N Performance sub-brand for Hyundai. They did it before with Genesis. They started a single model, which they then spurred off into its own brand, and now it is starting to gain momentum. And it's kind of like doing a Polestar. Exactly like doing a Polestar, because they're going to have loads of N products across the range. Perhaps not of the Santa Fe or the Iconic, but you never know. BMW did it with the X5. They came out with an X5M. So this is Hyundai's BMW M. And quite literally, because Albert Biermann came over from BMW M, opportunity that Hyundai gave him was for him to do whatever it is that he wanted to do. And that's pretty much why he joined the company, he said. He wouldn't have done so otherwise. He was quite happy over at BMW, gearing up their products and their M line. So, but with an engineer like that, when you tell him, hey, you can do anything you want, and you give him free rein and probably an open checkbook, the guy came up with this, and I can't, you can't fault it. At the price point as well, this is a fiercely competitive product. There's a few things that I don't understand, actually, because this car that I'm driving right now has options like heated seats, which are not going to be offered in the UK for some weird reason. How would you not want heated seats in the UK? You can have heated seats in the south of France, but you can't have heated seats in the UK. Anyway, makes zero sense. So hopefully the UK product guys will go back and say, hey, give us some heated seats. Other than that, the only thing that I have on this car, the N Performance version of the i30, is I have a no-cost option, which is the removal of leather and all electric bits on the seats, which basically achieves a weight savings of 12 kilos, which is not insignificant if you really want a true performance car, but it's only 12 kilos. But anyway, I love the grip on these seats. They're comfortable. They really hold you in place. They're not like overly, I'm not a very slender guy, but I'm not also very big. And these are just perfect. There's maybe a little bit amount of play on either side, but that allows it to retain the comfort that I'm going to need when I'm traveling. The brakes on this car are extremely good. They've been honed in-house at Hyundai. Basically do a special thing which race cars do, which is you've been using the brakes quite a bit. Brake pads apply a little bit of pressure to the discs, so you can basically get immediate braking power when you need the brakes next. Also, this car has Pirelli P0 tires that have been specially developed for this vehicle. So basically it's an ideal compound that isn't going to wear out prematurely. You wouldn't expect that in a Hyundai product, but will give you maximum adhesion and performance and grip on track. And you can see that because this car really does handle like it's on rails. From a handling perspective, you really can't fault this car. From a drivability performance, you can't fault this car. I've got this car in the stiffest suspension setting, And I'm not, I'm on UKP roads. This is not the most comfortable environment, but it feels good. And I'm not mad at it. If I was here with my family, I might want to tone it down a little bit on the suspension, which you can easily do in these settings over here on this big screen. This car doesn't have as much horsepower as some of its rivals, but you know what? It's not about horsepower. It's about feel. It's about how this car, one, makes you feel, and two, how responsive it is, how much fun it is to drive. This is phenomenal in that respect.